feeling mentally drained, overwhelmed, or stuck in a cycle of doubt. You're not alone. In this video, you'll discover practical strategies to build mental strength, even when you feel weak, transforming challenges into stepping stones for growth. From mastering routines to breaking tasks into micro goals, each tip is designed to help you regain control, boost resilience, and make consistent progress in life. Watch closely, apply these techniques daily, and watch your mindset shift. For more life-changing insights and motivational guidance, make sure to subscribe to Audiobook every day and start strengthening your mind one step at a time. Number 1. Interrupt negative thoughts with action. There are moments in life when the mind becomes a battlefield. Thoughts swirl like dark clouds, doubts whispering from every corner, and fear wraps itself around every decision. During these times, it's easy to feel powerless, as if weakness has claimed permanent residence inside. The key to escaping this trap is not to wish the thoughts away or argue with them endlessly, but to disrupt them with deliberate, focused action. Action, even the smallest kind, has the power to cut through the fog of negativity, to shift the mind from paralysis to movement, and to reclaim control over the internal landscape. Negative thoughts often thrive in stillness. When nothing is done, when the mind is left to wander unchallenged, fear and self-doubt grow like weeds in untended soil. One of the most transformative habits to cultivate is the immediate interruption of these thoughts through purposeful activity. This doesn't mean rushing into chaos without consideration. It means deliberately redirecting mental energy towards something constructive, tangible, and within your control. Action acts like a lever, moving both mind and body out of stagnation. It sends a signal to your brain that you are not a passive observer of life, but an active participant capable of shaping your reality. The first step in interrupting negative thoughts is awareness. Recognition is crucial. Notice when the mind is slipping into self-doubt, worry, or overthinking. Pay attention to the subtle cues, the tightening in the chest, the racing heartbeat, the repetitive what-ifs that creep in uninvited. Awareness alone begins the process of control, because once the mind notices a pattern, it can begin to intervene. Without this recognition, action becomes random or reactive. Awareness allows action to be strategic and intentional, turning small steps into transformative momentum. Once awareness is established, the next step is selection of the action itself. It doesn't have to be monumental. In fact, small, meaningful actions often carry the most power. When negative thoughts appear, simple movements, standing up, walking, stretching, or even performing a mundane task like washing dishes, can act as catalysts. These actions engage the body, and the body in turn influences the mind. Neuroscience confirms this. Physical activity releases chemicals that reduce stress and improve cognitive function. Even a short walk or a deliberate set of deep breaths can interrupt the autopilot of negativity, forcing the mind to focus on something real and immediate. Action can also take the form of problem solving. Often negative thoughts spiral because the mind perceives obstacles as insurmountable. Instead of allowing these thoughts to loop endlessly, channel energy into concrete problem-solving steps. Break the problem into manageable parts. Identify what is within control and tackle one small task immediately. This approach transforms abstract fear into tangible action. Each completed step, however minor, chips away at the weight of negativity, replacing helplessness with competence and confidence. The mind begins to understand that obstacles exist not to paralyze, but to teach and challenge. Interrupting negative thoughts also benefits from habit. Building a daily practice of immediate action ensures that this skill becomes instinctive. This might look like a morning routine that centers and energizes, a brief journaling session that externalizes worries, or a short burst of exercise that primes the mind for clarity. The moment a negative thought arises, the habit triggers, creating an automatic interruption. Over time, this repeated practice strengthens neural pathways associated with resilience, making the brain more adept at choosing action over inaction. Strength is cultivated not in moments of ease, but in the repeated practice of deliberate disciplined choice. A visualization can amplify the power of action. Before acting, envision the negative thought as a tangible object, a dark cloud, and not a heavy weight. Then picture the action you are about to take as a force that disrupts or dissolves it. This mental rehearsal strengthens the connection between action and its effect on the mind. When the physical act occurs, the mind already understands its purpose, enhancing focus and intention. Even small gestures, like standing tall, opening a window, or writing down a thought, can become symbolic acts of reclaiming power. The symbolic nature of these actions amplifies their practical impact, transforming the mental experience into a tangible victory. Emotional regulation is also intertwined with action. Negative thoughts often trigger strong emotions, fear, anger, sadness, which in turn feed the thinking process. Action interrupts this feedback loop. By shifting attention to a task that requires focus and effort, the emotional intensity diminishes. The body's movement signals the mind that it is capable of influence, that feelings do not have to dictate behavior. The combination of awareness, strategic action, and emotional regulation creates a cycle where the mind gradually strengthens, learning that negativity is not permanent or controlling. Practical applications of interrupting negative thoughts with action extend beyond the individual moment. Over time, this approach builds confidence and reduces the mind's susceptibility to destructive thinking. Each action, no matter how small, reinforces the internal narrative that the self is capable, resourceful, and resilient. This internal narrative is powerful. It transforms the way challenges are approached, turning obstacles into opportunities for mastery. The consistent application of this principle lays the foundation for a life where mental strength is not dependent on external circumstances, but cultivated from within, forged through discipline and deliberate effort. Consider real-life examples: waking up with dread about the day ahead, feeling paralyzed by anxiety. Interrupt this thought with a concrete first step. Make the bed, drink a glass of water, or step outside for a breath of fresh air. The simple act shifts the narrative from helplessness to agency. Another scenario, facing criticism that triggers self-doubt. Instead of ruminating, take a constructive action. Write down a plan for improvement or ask a clarifying question. The negative thought is acknowledged but not allowed to dominate. Action transforms fear into learning and inertia into progress. Interrupting negative thoughts with action also includes accountability. Sharing a small action step with someone trustworthy, a friend, mentor, or colleague, creates external reinforcement. When the mind wants to retreat into negativity, the commitment to action maintains momentum. Social reinforcement strengthens the habit and provides perspective, reminding the individual that they are not alone in the process of mental mastery. Community and accountability enhance the transformative power of action, amplifying its impact beyond what solitary effort can achieve. Finally, reflection completes the cycle. After action is taken, pause to notice the effect. How has the thought changed? Has energy shifted? Has confidence grown? Reflection consolidates learning, providing insight into what strategies are most effective. Over time, patterns emerge, guiding future responses and refining the skill of mental interruption. This creates a feedback loop where awareness, action, and reflection reinforce one another, progressively building a resilient mind that can weather storms without succumbing to them. Interrupting negative thoughts with action is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong practice. It requires discipline, awareness, and a willingness to confront discomfort. Yet, the results are profound. Each interruption strengthens the mind's capacity to manage fear, anxiety, and doubt. Each deliberate act affirms the individual's power to influence their internal world. In this process, weakness is met not with surrender but with movement, hesitation replaced with deliberate choice, and chaos transformed into constructive energy. Through consistent practice, mental strength becomes less about avoiding difficulty and more about mastering the ability to act effectively when faced with it. In conclusion, the act of interrupting negative thoughts with action is both simple and revolutionary. It transforms passive suffering into active engagement, fear into focus, and weakness into momentum. It is a practice rooted in awareness, reinforced by habit, and amplified through reflection. The mind learns that thoughts are not commands, but signals, and that the true power lies in response. By committing to this principle, individuals cultivate resilience, clarity, and a profound sense of agency. Each step taken, each thought interrupted, builds a foundation for lasting mental strength, preparing the mind to face life's challenges with courage, wisdom, and unshakable resolve. Number 2. Build resilience through daily discomfort. Life rarely waits for comfort, and true strength is forged in the moments we resist the ease of familiarity. Resilience is not a trait we are born with. It is cultivated in the crucible of deliberate, repeated challenges that push us beyond what feels safe or convenient. Each day presents opportunities to confront small discomforts, and each confrontation strengthens the mind, body, and spirit, creating a foundation that prepares us for the larger storms that inevitably arrive. The key to building this resilience lies in intentionally choosing discomfort rather than avoiding it, embracing challenges as a form of training for life itself. Discomfort has a way of revealing the edges of our character. When the body is tired, the mind fatigued, or the circumstances seem unfair, our instinct is to retreat. That retreat, while immediately soothing, reinforces weakness and limits growth. Resilience begins when we make the conscious choice to stay in the experience long enough to learn from it. It is not about seeking suffering for its own sake, but about recognizing that growth occurs at the boundary between ease and effort. Every moment of manageable struggle expands capacity, teaching patience, endurance, and self-mastery. One of the most effective ways to practice daily discomfort is through physical challenge. The body and mind are deeply interconnected, and enduring a controlled level of physical stress translates to mental strength. Early morning cold showers, short bursts of intense exercise, or walking beyond what feels comfortable activate the nervous system in a way that sharpens awareness and fortifies determination. Each physical act of tolerance communicates to the brain that discomfort is not a threat, but a signal, an opportunity to adapt and overcome. The mind gradually learns to welcome challenges, knowing that enduring temporary hardship builds lasting capacity. Discomfort can also be cultivated in thought and action. Challenging long-held beliefs, engaging in difficult conversations, or confronting fears head-on forces the mind out of its habitual patterns. Growth often comes disguised as anxiety, hesitation, or fear. By choosing to face these mental obstacles even in small ways, a person trains the mind to tolerate uncertainty and ambiguity. This builds a form of cognitive resilience that translates into confidence and clarity in real-world decision-making. The more we practice navigating mental discomfort, the more automatic and less intimidating it becomes, and the mind grows stronger, capable of weathering turbulence without collapsing under pressure. Daily discomfort is most effective when it is structured and intentional. Random acts of hardship provide temporary insight, but rarely create lasting change. A disciplined approach, such as dedicating specific times each day to face mild challenges, allows the mind to adapt progressively. For instance, waking up earlier than usual, engaging in tasks that feel tedious but necessary, or setting time-limited goals that push the edges of personal capacity builds a rhythm of resilience. The repetition of deliberate effort cultivates neural pathways associated with endurance, patience, and sustained focus. Over time, discomfort becomes less threatening and more like a familiar companion on the journey towards strength. Another essential element of resilience is reflection. After enduring discomfort, it is crucial to evaluate the experience and understand what it teaches. Each challenge, each moment of strain, carries a lesson about limits, perseverance, and resourcefulness. Reflection turns pain into insight, transforming a moment of tension into a stepping stone for future growth. Without reflection, experiences remain fleeting, and the mind fails to integrate the strength gained. Taking a few moments to notice how the body reacted, how emotions fluctuated, and how thoughts shifted creates a feedback loop that reinforces resilience, helping the individual internalize lessons and apply them consistently. Embracing discomfort also requires reprogramming the mind's relationship with fear. Fear is a natural reaction, signaling risk or uncertainty, but it becomes a tool for growth when approached strategically. By intentionally stepping into small, controlled risks daily, fear is desensitized. This might mean initiating conversations that are uncomfortable, learning a skill in public despite the possibility of failure, or experimenting with new routines that challenge comfort zones. Each act teaches the mind that fear is not a barrier, but a signal that growth is occurring. Over time, the habitual avoidance of fear diminishes, replaced by proactive courage and steady composure in the face of uncertainty. Resilience is further reinforced by cultivating adaptability in everyday life. Discomfort is rarely neat or predictable. It comes unannounced, and often in complex forms. Training the mind to respond flexibly, to adjust plans, and to maintain composure under varying conditions strengthens the mental framework necessary for enduring hardship. This adaptability is cultivated through micro-challenges, trying new ways of competing familiar tactics, facing interruptions with calm, or approaching setbacks as opportunities for creative problem-solving. Each small adaptation reinforces a deeper resilience, equipping the individual with tools to navigate the unpredictable nature of life. Daily discomfort is also about embracing responsibility, even when it feels inconvenient, tackling tasks that are necessary but unpleasant, confronting personal weaknesses, or managing responsibilities without deferral strengthens character. Each choice to act despite resistance reinforces the message that effort is valuable, discipline is attainable, and endurance is cultivated rather than inherited. Responsibility, paired with discomfort, becomes a training ground for resilience, teaching the mind to tolerate tension, manage internal resistance, and maintain focus even when external circumstances are challenging. The emotional dimension of discomfort is equally important. Resilience is not merely endurance. It is the ability to maintain emotional stability amidst strain. Experiencing mild emotional challenges daily, such as dealing with criticism, navigating disagreements, or managing frustration, teaches emotional regulation. The mind gradually learns to separate transient emotions from permanent reality, to respond rather than react, and to maintain composure under pressure. Emotional resilience is deeply interconnected with mental fortitude, and practicing it through daily discomfort ensures that challenges are met with clarity and balance rather than impulsivity or surrender. Integrating small daily discomforts into life has a compounding effect. It shifts perspective from seeking comfort to valuing growth, from avoiding tension to embracing challenge. Over time, resilience becomes an intrinsic part of identity rather than an occasional response to crisis. The individual begins to recognize that life's hardships are not adversaries, but instruments of training, shaping a stronger, more capable mind and spirit. Each deliberate encounter with discomfort strengthens resolve, sharpens awareness, and enhances the capacity to act decisively, even under stress. Practical application involves starting small but consistent. Identify one manageable discomfort to embrace daily, whether physical, mental, or emotional, and commit to enduring it fully. Track progress and observe changes in mindset and response patterns. Gradually increase intensity or complexity, ensuring that each step stretches limits without causing burnout. Over time, these incremental acts of courage and endurance accumulate, forming a mental and emotional armor capable of withstanding far greater challenges than initially imagined. Resilience is the quiet power that allows a person to endure, adapt, and thrive. It is cultivated in moments that most people avoid, when the mind trembles at uncertainty, when the body strains against fatigue, and when emotions pull toward retreat. By deliberately seeking and embracing discomfort each day, strength becomes habitual, courage becomes instinctive, and the mind learns to see challenge not as a threat, but as a natural, necessary pathway to growth. Life will never be free of hardship, but through disciplined exposure to manageable discomfort, the individual builds an inner fortress, capable of facing adversity with clarity, endurance, and unwavering composure. Ultimately, building resilience through daily discomfort transforms life. It shifts identity from reactive to proactive, from fragile to strong, and from dependent on external ease to self-sufficient in internal fortitude. The discomfort faced today is the foundation of strength tomorrow. By consciously choosing challenge, enduring tension, reflecting on lessons, and integrating the experience into daily practice, resilience becomes more than a skill. It becomes a defining characteristic. Each deliberate encounter with discomfort strengthens the mind, fortifies the spirit, and teaches the essential truth that enduring hardship is not only necessary for growth, but is the very path toward becoming unshakable, capable, and powerful in every facet of life. Number 3. Create structure to calm chaos. Life has a way of pulling in every direction at once. Thoughts, responsibilities, and external demands often collide in a whirlwind of confusion, leaving the mind scattered and exhausted. In such moments, clarity feels distant, and stress becomes a constant companion. The antidote to this chaos is structure, a deliberate, organized framework that anchors the mind and provides a sense of control amidst uncertainty. Structure is not about rigidity or eliminating spontaneity. It is about creating a consistent environment and routine that allows energy, attention, and focus to flow efficiently. It is a tool that transforms mental turbulence into deliberate action, turning overwhelm into clarity. Chaos thrives in environments without boundaries. When priorities are unclear and time is unplanned, the mind becomes a passive reactor, bouncing between demands without direction. Structure interrupts this cycle by establishing predictable patterns, clear intentions, and manageable systems. Even simple frameworks, like designated times for work, breaks, meals, and rest, create a rhythm that the mind can rely on. This rhythm reduces cognitive load because decisions about what to do next are minimized. The energy that was spent navigating disorder can now be redirected toward meaningful action, creativity, and problem solving. Creating structure begins with a clear assessment of priorities. Understanding what is most important, both in the immediate moment and in long-term goals, forms the foundation of any organized system. Without clarity about priorities, structure becomes superficial, a set of empty rules that fail to guide effectively. Identify core tasks, obligations, and personal goals, then rank them in order of significance. This prioritization informs the creation of routines, schedules, and processes that ensure attention is directed toward what truly matters, rather than being consumed by distractions and low-value activities. Time is one of the most powerful tools for creating structure. The day, divided intentionally, becomes a vehicle for calm and productivity. Assign specific windows for critical tasks, leisure, and rest. By creating temporal boundaries, the mind develops a sense of predictability, reducing the anxiety that arises from uncertainty. Within these boundaries, focus intensifies because the brain knows that each period has a purpose and an endpoint. Time blocking, even in small increments, trains the mind to approach tasks with intent and reduces the tendency to drift between competing demands. Physical space is equally crucial. A cluttered environment reflects a cluttered mind. Organizing surroundings, whether a desk, a room, or a digital workspace, creates an external order that supports internal calm. When every item has a place and every tool is accessible, mental energy is conserved. The brain is freed from constant low-level stress caused by disorganization. Small actions, like tidying a desk each morning or sorting emails into folders, establish a sense of mastery and reduce the subconscious noise that contributes to mental chaos. A well-ordered environment becomes a sanctuary where structured thought can flourish. Daily rituals reinforce structure. Rituals, simple repeated actions, anchor the mind and signal the start or end of specific activities. This could include a morning routine that centers attention, an evening reflection that consolidates accomplishments, or short pauses during the day for mindfulness or breathing exercises. Rituals transform structure from a conceptual plan into a lived experience. They create consistency in behavior, stabilize mood, and enhance the ability to respond rather than react to external pressures. When practiced consistently, rituals provide a framework that the mind anticipates, reducing stress and increasing resilience. Decision-making benefits significantly from structure. Many moments of chaos stem from indecision, as the mind is overloaded with options and uncertainties. Establishing guidelines for how to approach choices simplifies this process. For instance, creating criteria for daily priorities, pre-planning meals or tasks, or following a checklist for recurring activities removes unnecessary deliberation. Structure acts as a decision filter, allowing only essential evaluations to consume mental energy. This clarity reduces anxiety and prevents mental fatigue, creating more space for focus, innovation, and disciplined action. Emotional turbulence is often amplified by unstructured days. When events and obligations collide without a clear framework, feelings of frustration, overwhelm, and irritability intensify. Structure counteracts this by introducing predictability and control. Knowing what comes next, even in a busy or challenging day, produces a sense of security that allows the emotional system to stabilize. This emotional regulation improves interactions with others, reduces reactive behavior, and strengthens the capacity to handle unexpected challenges without losing composure. Structure provides a scaffold that supports both cognitive and emotional functioning. Flexibility within structure is essential. A system is not effective if it cannot accommodate life's inevitable disruptions. True structure balances consistency with adaptability. It is the difference between a rigid prison and a flexible framework. Allowing room for adjustments, whether due to unforeseen circumstances, mood shifts, or changing priorities, ensures that structure serves its purpose without becoming a source of additional stress. Flexibility within a structured plan builds confidence, teaching the mind that stability does not require perfection and that calm can coexist with life's unpredictability. Reflection and evaluation enhance the power of structure. Regularly reviewing routines, schedules, and priorities ensures that they remain aligned with goals and values. Reflection identifies areas where adjustments are needed, highlights successes, and reinforces effective habits. By consciously observing the impact of structure on mental clarity and productivity, the mind internalizes the benefits, reinforcing the importance of maintaining organized systems. This cycle of implementation, observation, and refinement transforms structure into a dynamic tool that continuously strengthens resilience and focus. Small, consistent actions create long-term stability. Even minor habits, repeated daily, compound into significant improvements in mental clarity and emotional equilibrium. Waking at the same time, planning the day each morning, organizing tasks by priority, and completing simple end-of-day reviews are all examples of incremental acts that cumulatively produce a profound sense of order. Each action signals to the brain that control is possible, that effort yields results, and that chaos is not an insurmountable force. Over time, these small interventions cultivate a mind that approaches complexity with calm and confidence. The benefits of structure extend beyond immediate calm. Organized routines foster self-discipline, enhance focus, and improve decision-making under pressure. They allow creativity to flourish because the mind is not constantly drained by scattered energy. They provide a stable foundation upon which resilience is built, enabling the individual to navigate adversity without being swept away by panic or indecision. Structure transforms chaos into opportunity, providing a framework within which challenges can be met with clarity, strategy, and confidence. Implementing structure also cultivates accountability. When routines and systems are in place, it becomes easier to track progress, maintain commitments, and evaluate personal effectiveness. Accountability enhances motivation because the mind recognizes patterns of success and identifies areas for improvement. Structure, therefore, is both a stabilizing force and a tool for continuous growth. It ensures that effort is directed efficiently and that momentum is maintained even in the face of distractions or setbacks. Structure is a profound form of self-respect. Creating systems that organize time, space, and energy demonstrates a commitment to personal excellence. It is an acknowledgement that life is not merely to be endured, but to be navigated with intention and purpose. By establishing clarity in daily routines, priorities, and environments, the mind gains freedom from unnecessary worry, the ability to respond strategically, and the confidence to face challenges with calm authority. The chaos that once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable, even predictable, and the individual experiences a profound sense of empowerment. Ultimately, structure is not a restriction. It is a tool for liberation. By creating a deliberate framework for thoughts, actions, and routines, the mind is freed from distraction, indecision, and overwhelm. Each intentional choice, each organized routine, and each reflective adjustment strengthens mental clarity and emotional stability. Chaos is not eliminated. Life will always present complexity, but with structure, it becomes navigable rather than paralyzing. The mind, supported by a consistent framework, learns to approach challenges with focus, confidence, and composure. Through disciplined creation of structure, mental strength is cultivated, and a calm, purposeful life becomes not just possible, but sustainable, even in the midst of external turbulence. Number 4. Reframe setbacks as training opportunities. Life rarely follows a straight path. Even the most careful planning, the most disciplined effort, and the strongest intentions cannot prevent challenges from arising. Setbacks happen. They are inevitable, unavoidable, and often unexpected. The way they are perceived determines their impact. A setback can feel like a crushing defeat, a signal of inadequacy, or proof that progress is impossible. Yet, the same event can also be understood as a form of training, a lesson, and a stepping stone toward greater strength. The difference lies in perception. Shifting the lens through which setbacks are viewed transforms them from obstacles into opportunities for growth and resilience. At the core of this transformation is the recognition that setbacks are not personal failures, they are feedback. Life responds to actions and decisions with results, some of which are uncomfortable, inconvenient, or contrary to desire. Instead of labeling a setback as a permanent verdict on ability or worth, consider it as data, a signal that adjustments are required, strategies must evolve, or preparation was incomplete. This perspective removes the emotional weight of shame, regret, or despair, replacing it with curiosity, analysis, and proactive problem-solving. When a setback is treated as a teacher rather than an enemy, the mind becomes engaged in improvement rather than defeat. Training the mind to reframe setbacks begins with detachment. Emotional detachment is not indifference. It is the ability to observe circumstances without becoming overwhelmed. When an unexpected failure occurs, pause to note facts, rather than immediately react with frustration or self-criticism. Ask questions. What happened? Which factors contributed to this result? What was within my control, and what was outside it? This analytical approach converts emotional turbulence into structured insight, creating a foundation for learning and adaptation. The brain, once focused on worry or self-blame, now channels energy into constructive understanding. Every setback carries lessons that are often invisible until examined carefully. The challenge lies in uncovering them, identifying patterns, and translating experience into action. For example, a failed project may reveal gaps in planning, communication, or perseverance. A missed opportunity may highlight areas for skill development, preparation, or patience. By approaching each setback as a training exercise, the mind begins to view difficulty not as punishment, but as an opportunity to refine strategies, enhance competence, and strengthen character. Each failure becomes a rehearsal for future success, preparing the individual to handle more complex challenges with greater skill. Reframing setbacks also involves shifting focus from outcome to process. Obsessing over the end result often amplifies disappointment, whereas concentrating on effort, strategy, and execution promotes growth. Even when a goal is not achieved, the disciplined application of effort, the lessons learned, and the insights gained hold intrinsic value. Process-oriented thinking nurtures resilience because it anchors identity in action rather than result. The individual begins to understand that mastery and competence are cultivated through repetition, experimentation, and refinement, not solely through success or recognition. Setbacks in this sense are the laboratory where skills are tested and honed. Practical application requires immediate reflection after a setback occurs. Writing down observations, noting emotions, and identifying actionable lessons transforms experience into knowledge. Questions like, "What could I have done differently?" or "What can I practice now to avoid this in the future?" encourage proactive engagement. Reflection solidifies the training aspect of setbacks, converting disappointment into preparation. The mind begins to anticipate challenges as opportunities for improvement rather than threats to stability or self-esteem. Each reflection session strengthens the capacity to recover quickly and respond intelligently. Action is the next crucial step. Learning without implementation is wasted insight. After understanding the lesson embedded in a setback, deliberate steps must be taken to apply it. This might involve adjusting strategies, acquiring new skills, improving habits, or seeking guidance from mentors. Action reinforces the reframed perspective, by demonstrating that setbacks are not endpoints, but catalysts for improvement. Each corrective or preventive measure strengthens competence and reduces the likelihood of repeating mistakes. The sense of agency that emerges from this approach fuels confidence and reinforces a mindset oriented toward growth rather than fear. Resilience develops naturally from repeated encounters with setbacks when they are reframed as training. The mind gradually internalizes the understanding that challenges are transient, lessons are available, and adaptability is within reach. Emotional responses shift from panic or despair to curiosity and determination. The individual becomes less intimidated by failure because it is recognized as an integral part of skill acquisition and personal development. Each setback, once internalized as a lesson, contributes incrementally to the mental and emotional strength required to navigate increasingly complex challenges. Visualization amplifies the process of reframing setbacks. Imagining a setback as a deliberate training scenario where the mind is the athlete and circumstances are the exercises strengthens both comprehension and motivation. Picture the difficulty as a tool sculpting resilience, honing judgment, and enhancing patience. This mental rehearsal reinforces the perspective that adversity is not an enemy but a force working in tandem with effort to improve ability. Visualization bridges the gap between perception and action, making abstract lessons tangible and meaningful. Reframing setbacks also encourages humility and patience. Growth is seldom linear, and mastery requires repeated exposure to challenges that test limits. Accepting that setbacks are part of the process prevents frustration from derailing progress. Each challenge becomes a marker on the path of development, signaling areas for attention and skill cultivation. Humility allows learning to occur without resistance, while patience sustains the individual through cycles of effort, feedback, and refinement. Together they create a mindset that views adversity as natural, necessary, and instructive. Accountability enhances the reframing process. Sharing experiences with mentors, peers, or trusted companions provides perspective and feedback, revealing blind spots and alternative strategies. Engaging with others transforms setbacks from isolating experiences into collective opportunities for insight. Guidance and discussion accelerate the internalization of lessons, reinforce proactive problem solving, and solidify the understanding that setbacks are not terminal but are essential components of training. Collaboration in this sense magnifies growth, creating a richer, more resilient mindset. Small, consistent practice of reframing is vital. Not every setback will be monumental, but even minor challenges provide opportunities to train the mind. Daily irritations, unexpected delays, minor failures, and uncomfortable interactions can all serve as exercises in perspective, patience, and adaptation. Treating each event as meaningful practice strengthens the neural and emotional patterns that support resilience. Over time, the mind becomes adept at recognizing the instructive nature of setbacks, responding with thoughtful action rather than reactive frustration, and converting adversity into progress. Reframing setbacks fosters a long-term mindset. Immediate disappointment is replaced by the understanding that growth unfolds over time, and that each challenge contributes to cumulative strength. The individual begins to see life as a continuous learning environment, where difficulty is a necessary ingredient for competence, confidence, and mastery. This perspective nurtures optimism grounded in preparation rather than expectation, teaching that setbacks are not indicators of failure, but components of a disciplined, deliberate journey toward excellence. Ultimately, the ability to reframe setbacks as training opportunities transforms the experience of life itself. Failure is no longer a source of shame or fear. It becomes a structured mechanism for growth, insight, and empowerment. The mind learns that adversity is a tool, circumstances are instructors, and effort coupled with reflection produces meaningful improvement. Each setback, approached thoughtfully, strengthens judgment, enhances emotional stability, and prepares the individual for greater challenges. Through this lens, life's obstacles are not interruptions. They are the curriculum of personal mastery, shaping a resilient, capable, and unshakable mind, capable of thriving under pressure, learning continuously, and progressing steadily toward goals, regardless of circumstance. Number 5. Strengthen identity with small wins. Personal transformation is not the result of grand gestures or sudden leaps of progress. True, lasting change begins with small, deliberate victories, tiny decisions that accumulate to shape identity and reinforce self-belief. The human mind responds to evidence, and repeated demonstrations of competence, discipline, and commitment strengthen the internal narrative of capability. Each small win confirms that effort matters, that choices have impact, and that the individual possesses the power to influence life circumstances. Identity is not fixed. It is built, layer by layer, through actions that reinforce who we believe we are. Small wins are the building blocks of a resilient, confident, and purpose-driven self. The power of small wins lies in their immediacy. Large goals often feel overwhelming, distant, or unattainable, creating hesitation and self-doubt. Breaking these goals into manageable, incremental steps provides the mind with achievable targets. Completing a single step, no matter how minor, generates a sense of accomplishment. That accomplishment produces motivation, fueling further action and creating a feedback loop of progress. Over time, these repeated small successes consolidate into a strong sense of identity as someone capable, disciplined, and effective, capable of handling challenges rather than being victim to them. Consistency amplifies the effect of small wins. Performing minor, constructive actions daily solidifies habits, reinforces competence, and strengthens the psychological association between effort and results. For example, consistently completing a short morning routine, setting aside time for focused work, or adhering to a daily exercise practice gradually instills self-trust. The mind begins to recognize that persistence leads to results, and identity evolves in alignment with repeated behaviors. Each action, though modest on its own, becomes a visible proof point of reliability, discipline, and intentionality. Small wins also combat the mind's tendency toward discouragement. In moments of stress, failure, or uncertainty, the mind can exaggerate limitations and magnify obstacles. By focusing on immediate, achievable victories, attention shifts from what is missing to what is already accomplished. This redirection fosters confidence, steadiness, and resilience, creating a mental reservoir of success that can be drawn upon during moments of doubt. Over time, the accumulation of these victories rewires the perception of self, embedding a belief that challenges are surmountable and that persistence yields tangible results. Tracking progress is a crucial component in reinforcing identity through small wins. Writing down completed tasks, marking milestones, or reviewing achievements allows the mind to recognize patterns of consistency and effort. Tangible evidence of progress transforms abstract effort into concrete proof of capability. It also encourages reflection, providing insight into which strategies and habits are most effective. When identity is anchored in observed results rather than intention alone, self-confidence solidifies and the individual develops a clearer sense of competence, purpose, and direction. The psychological impact of small wins extends to decision-making and initiative. Each success, however minor, creates momentum. The mind begins to anticipate capability rather than failure, creating a predisposition toward action. Decisions become less paralyzed by doubt because past wins serve as evidence of effectiveness. Initiative becomes habitual, fueled by the knowledge that even modest steps produce measurable outcomes. Over time, identity is increasingly defined by proactive engagement rather than hesitation, and the individual perceives themselves as someone who creates change rather than being controlled by circumstance. Small wins foster a mindset of incremental growth. Rather than expecting instant transformation, the mind recognizes the value of steady, cumulative effort. This perspective cultivates patience, perseverance, and resilience, as progress is measured in terms of effort applied consistently rather than immediate results. By celebrating small victories, the individual internalizes the principle that mastery and competence are developed through repetition and refinement. Identity shifts toward one grounded in diligence, adaptability, and persistence, strengthening the mental and emotional framework required to pursue long-term goals with determination. Beyond personal habits, small wins shape social and professional identity. Each fulfilled promise, completed responsibility, or meaningful contribution reinforces the perception of reliability and competence, both internally and externally. Colleagues, friends, and family begin to see consistency and effectiveness, which further validates self-perception. External acknowledgement reinforces internal identity, creating a harmonious loop where action, recognition, and self-concept strengthen one another. The individual begins to internalize the belief that they are capable, responsible, and effective, establishing a foundation for leadership and influence. Emotional regulation is enhanced through small wins as well. The sense of accomplishment derived from completing manageable tasks produces positive neurochemical responses, boosting motivation and mood. These emotional benefits compound, creating a mindset that approaches challenges with composure and optimism rather than stress and hesitation. Each victory, even minor, signals to the nervous system that effort is rewarding, reinforcing adaptive responses to difficulty and cultivating resilience. The accumulation of these experiences transforms identity into one characterized by calm, focused action and measured confidence. Strategic selection of small wins is essential. Wins must align with values, goals, and long-term vision to produce meaningful identity reinforcement. Arbitrary or superficial accomplishments may boost temporary mood, but do not substantively influence self-perception. Choosing actions that advance competence, skill, or meaningful progress ensures that each victory contributes to the development of a robust, capable, and purposeful identity. Intentionality maximizes the psychological and practical benefits of small wins, linking daily behavior to the cultivation of mental strength. Reflection enhances the transformative effect of small wins. Pausing to acknowledge achievements, consider lessons learned, and recognize the effort invested consolidates the impact of each victory. This practice reinforces identity, strengthens self-awareness, and embeds confidence more deeply into the psyche. Over time, reflection provides a mental record of resilience, competence, and progress, serving as both motivation and proof that incremental effort produces meaningful transformation. It transforms ordinary actions into deliberate, identity-shaping experiences. Small wins cultivate self-efficacy, the belief in one's ability to influence outcomes and navigate challenges successfully. Repeated successes, no matter how minor, signal to the brain that effort matters, obstacles are surmountable, and competence is achievable. This internalized belief fuels further action, creating a cycle where confidence drives effort, effort produces results, and results reinforce identity. The cumulative effect transforms the perception of self from fragile or reactive to capable, proactive, and self-directed. The practical application involves identifying areas where small, consistent progress can be made and committing to daily action. Begin with achievable targets, no matter how modest, and ensure they are concrete, measurable, and aligned with broader objectives. Track these victories, reflect on their significance, and allow the momentum to grow naturally. Gradually, complexity and scale can increase, building on the foundation of established competence. Each small win becomes a stepping stone, reinforcing identity, strengthening confidence, and preparing the individual for increasingly significant achievements. Ultimately, identity is constructed from evidence. Each action, decision, and completed task provides proof of capability. By consistently focusing on small, manageable wins, the individual accumulates a tangible record of success that shapes self-perception. The mind internalizes the pattern of accomplishment, translating repeated effort into confidence, resilience, and purpose. Identity evolves from intention into reality, anchored in lived experience rather than abstract aspiration. Small wins are the quiet architects of character, gradually but powerfully transforming potential into demonstrated strength, capability, and unwavering self-belief. Through deliberate accumulation of small wins, the individual becomes increasingly aligned with a version of themselves that is disciplined, competent, and confident. Each step forward, however modest, reaffirms capability and reinforces a sense of agency. The accumulation of these victories strengthens mental resilience, emotional stability, and personal effectiveness. Over time, identity is no longer dictated by doubt, external validation, or fear of failure. It is defined by consistent action, tangible progress, and the lived proof that one is capable of shaping life intentionally. Number 6. Detach emotion, choose logical responses. The mind often reacts before it reasons. In high-pressure moments, emotional impulses arise as quickly as breath, threatening to override careful thought and measured action. Anger, fear, frustration, and anxiety can hijack decisions, leading to outcomes that amplify stress rather than resolve it. The ability to detach from emotion while still acknowledging it is a hallmark of mental strength. This detachment is not suppression, it is the conscious choice to observe internal responses, assess circumstances objectively, and act in alignment with logic, purpose, and long-term goals. Learning to navigate life through measured responses rather than reactive emotion is a discipline that cultivates clarity, resilience, and effective decision-making. Emotional detachment begins with awareness. The first step is noticing the rise of strong feelings without immediately acting on them. It involves recognizing the physiological signals, racing heartbeat, tense muscles, shallow breathing, that accompany emotional surges. Awareness creates a pause, a crucial gap between impulse and action, which allows reasoning to enter the process. Observing emotion without judgment establishes a sense of control, reducing the feeling of being swept away by intensity. The mind begins to understand that emotion is data, not a mandate, and that thoughtful action can coexist with strong feeling. Once awareness is established, the next step is labeling the emotion. Naming what is happening, frustration, disappointment, irritation, or anxiety, creates distance between self and experience. This cognitive separation prevents emotion from dictating behavior unconsciously. By articulating the feeling internally or even externally, the mind transforms raw, chaotic energy into structured information. This process allows for clarity in decision-making because the emotional charge is recognized without automatically triggering a reactive response. Naming the emotion converts it from a master into a guide, signaling what to consider without dictating the action itself. Logical response requires assessing the situation objectively. Step back and examine the facts, separating perception from reality. Identify what is within control and what lies outside it. Many emotional responses arise from assumptions, misinterpretations, or exaggerated expectations. Evaluating the situation with a rational lens allows the mind to prioritize meaningful action over futile reaction. It is a disciplined practice of asking, what is true in this moment? What is actionable? What response aligns with long-term goals rather than immediate emotional gratification? This analytical approach creates a roadmap for responding intelligently, even under pressure. Breathing techniques and physical grounding are practical tools to support detachment. Controlled deep breaths signal the nervous system to move from fight or flight responses into a more balanced state, enhancing cognitive clarity. Simple practices like pressing feet firmly into the floor, relaxing shoulders, or consciously adjusting posture help anchor attention to the present moment. These actions interrupt the physiological feedback loop of intense emotion, allowing the mind to engage reasoning faculties rather than reacting impulsively. The body and mind work together to create space between stimulus and response, giving logic a chance to guide action. Decision-making grounded in logic rather than emotion also benefits from pre-established principles. Establish rules or guiding values that inform responses to recurring challenges. For example, maintaining composure in conflict, prioritizing solution-focused approaches, or committing to fact-based evaluations prevents temporary emotion from dictating long-term outcomes. These principles act as internal anchors, reducing vulnerability to impulsive choices and reinforcing consistency in behavior. The more practiced the application of such principles, the more instinctive and reliable the logical response becomes, even in high-pressure scenarios. Reflection strengthens the habit of choosing logic over emotion. After emotionally charged events, review actions and outcomes. Consider whether decisions were guided by impulse or reasoning, and evaluate how the response could be improved in the future. Reflection consolidates learning, reinforces self-awareness, and strengthens the neural pathways that support deliberate action. By consistently analyzing past experiences, the mind becomes better equipped to recognize emotional triggers, respond strategically, and maintain composure in future challenges. This reflective practice transforms each encounter into a training opportunity, gradually enhancing emotional resilience and decision-making competence. Detaching from emotion does not mean ignoring it. Emotions carry valuable information about needs, desires, and threats. The key is processing these signals without allowing them to dictate action. Consider emotion as a tool. It informs but does not command. When anger arises, it may indicate a boundary has been crossed. When anxiety emerges, it may signal risk or uncertainty, requiring attention. By translating emotional signals into constructive insights, the mind leverages their utility while avoiding the destructive consequences of impulsivity. This balance between awareness and action enhances both effectiveness and personal integrity. Consistency is essential. The habit of detaching and responding logically strengthens over repeated application. Begin with small, low-stakes situations to practice restraint and observation. Over time, this skill generalizes to more complex and emotionally intense scenarios. Each success reinforces confidence in the ability to maintain clarity under pressure. As the brain becomes accustomed to this pattern, impulsive responses diminish, and logical, goal-aligned behavior becomes the default. Small, deliberate exercises in emotional detachment compound into robust self-control, transforming reaction into choice. Emotional detachment also improves interpersonal interactions. Conflicts often escalate when participants respond from heightened emotion rather than reasoned understanding. Choosing logical responses allows conversations to focus on problem-solving, perspective-taking, and collaboration rather than blame or defensiveness. This approach strengthens relationships, fosters trust, and reduces stress in social environments. By modeling composure and strategic thinking, the individual not only benefits personally, but also influences interactions in constructive, stabilizing ways. Emotional intelligence grows hand in hand with disciplined detachment, creating a balance of awareness, empathy, and strategic action. Visualization techniques further enhance the ability to respond logically. Mentally rehearsing high-pressure scenarios and imagining composed, solution-focused responses trains the brain to act with intentionality when similar situations occur in reality. This rehearsal reinforces neural patterns that prioritize observation, analysis, and deliberate choice over reactive emotion. Mental practice reduces surprise and panic, providing the mind with a familiar template for measured behavior. By combining awareness, detachment, and visualization, the individual strengthens both readiness and confidence in navigating challenges calmly and effectively. Small rituals and grounding practices support long-term mastery. Journaling emotions, engaging in meditation, or reviewing guiding principles each day creates a habitual framework for reflection and strategic thinking. These routines reinforce the mind's ability to pause, evaluate, and respond logically when real-time stresses arise. Repetition strengthens cognitive pathways, gradually embedding the skill into the default mode of operation. Over time, detachment and rational action become instinctive rather than forced, allowing the individual to navigate life with consistent clarity, even in unpredictable or emotionally charged circumstances. The relationship between logic and long-term goals is critical. Emotional impulses often prioritize short-term satisfaction, immediate relief, or avoidance of discomfort. Logical responses, by contrast, consider consequences, alignment with values, and cumulative outcomes. Each deliberate choice, guided by reason, strengthens the internal sense of agency, reinforces commitment to purpose, and advances toward meaningful objectives. The mind learns to value consistency, foresight, and strategy, building identity and confidence, rooted in deliberate mastery rather than reactionary patterns. Ultimately, detaching emotion and choosing logical responses cultivates freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of impulsive reactions, from the erosion of composure, and from decisions driven by temporary feelings. It creates space to assess situations, weigh options, and act in ways that reflect intention rather than chaos. Over time, this practice fortifies resilience, enhances problem-solving, and strengthens the mind's capacity to operate under pressure without succumbing to distraction or anxiety. The ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react instinctively becomes a defining feature of mental strength, transforming challenges into opportunities for skillful navigation, deliberate growth, and sustained achievement. By consistently observing emotions, labeling their presence, evaluating situations objectively, and choosing rational courses of action, the mind develops clarity, self-control, and strategic focus. Each instance reinforces the understanding that emotions are tools to inform judgment rather than chains that dictate behavior. Over repeated application, logical responses become habitual, decision-making improves, and resilience strengthens. Life's inevitable pressures become manageable, uncertainty is navigated with composure, and the individual gains mastery over both internal states and external outcomes. Detachment from emotion is not coldness, it is disciplined clarity, a pathway to mental fortitude, and a method to act consistently in alignment with principles, goals, and values, even when intensity threatens to overwhelm. Number 7. Practice stillness to regain control. The mind rarely finds calm on its own. In moments of stress, overwhelm, or uncertainty, thoughts race like uncontrolled currents, pulling attention in every direction and leaving clarity scarce. Yet, the path to regaining control is not always through action or effort alone. Sometimes it is through stillness. Stillness is not idleness or avoidance. It is a conscious, deliberate pause that allows the mind to settle, the body to align, and perspective to return. In this space, clarity emerges, energy stabilizes, and the ability to respond intentionally replaces the instinct to react impulsively. Practicing stillness is both a sanctuary and a tool, cultivating mental strength that persists beyond each quiet moment. The first principle of stillness is presence. The ability to be fully aware of the current moment, rather than lost in past regrets or future anxieties, forms the foundation of mental control. Many emotional or cognitive storms arise from dwelling on what cannot be changed or fearing what is uncertain. Stillness interrupts this pattern by anchoring attention in the now. The simple act of focusing on breath, bodily sensations, or external sounds shifts consciousness from turbulence to observation. In this awareness, the mind recognizes that thoughts are transient and emotional intensity is not permanent. Control begins with noticing without immediately acting, creating a calm platform from which strategic decisions can emerge. Breathing is one of the most accessible and powerful gateways to stillness. Conscious, deep, and measured breaths regulate the nervous system, reducing the physiological signs of stress, such as racing heartbeat, shallow breathing, and muscle tension. The rhythm of controlled breathing signals to the body that immediate danger is absent, allowing the mind to transition from reactive to reflective. Even a few deliberate breaths, taken with attention to the rise and fall of the chest or abdomen, can create a significant shift in mental state. This practice not only provides immediate calm, but also reinforces the habit of pausing before responding, which strengthens control over time. Stillness also requires disengagement from external stimulation. Constant exposure to noise, notifications, or multitasking fractures attention and amplifies stress. Creating moments of intentional solitude, free from distraction, enables the mind to settle. This could be as simple as sitting quietly for 5 minutes in a dedicated space, walking without headphones, or observing surroundings without interference. During these periods, the mind reorganizes itself, insights surface, and a sense of order returns. External stillness supports internal stillness, producing a feedback loop where calm environments nurture calm minds, which in turn handle challenges with greater composure. Observation without judgment is another essential element. Stillness is not simply the absence of movement. It is active attention directed inward and outward without the interference of labels, criticism, or overanalysis. Thoughts, emotions, and sensations are noted as they arise, recognized, and allowed to pass. By treating experiences as phenomena to observe rather than threats to control, the mind cultivates detachment and clarity. This practice strengthens resilience because it teaches that challenges, stress, and discomfort are temporary, manageable, and not inherently overwhelming. Observing without judgment fosters equanimity, enabling measured responses even in high-pressure situations. Stillness enhances decision-making. In chaos, the mind often defaults to reaction rather than strategy. Pausing allows space for evaluation, prioritization, and alignment with long-term goals. By creating a deliberate gap between stimulus and response, stillness transforms instinctive reactions into considered actions. The clarity gained enables better problem-solving, reduces mistakes, and reinforces confidence in the ability to manage complex circumstances. The act of quiet reflection cultivates foresight, teaches patience, and transforms reactive energy into constructive movement. Visualization complements stillness as a mental exercise. In moments of calm, imagine challenges as objects or scenarios outside the self, observed from a distance. This perspective allows the mind to analyze situations without being overwhelmed by emotion. The mental exercise trains the brain to approach difficulties with composure, fostering strategic thinking and emotional regulation. Visualization during stillness turns introspection into preparation, enhancing the ability to act decisively and effectively when action is required. Over time, these rehearsals strengthen the connection between calm observation and practical execution. Routines that incorporate stillness reinforce its benefits. Morning or evening practices, brief meditation sessions, or intentional pauses during work periods establish consistency. By embedding stillness into daily life, the mind becomes conditioned to seek calm before responding. Repetition strengthens neural pathways associated with regulation, focus, and clarity. These habitual intervals of calm serve as mental reset points, reducing cumulative stress, sharpening awareness, and sustaining energy. Stillness, practiced consistently, becomes not a luxury, but a reliable tool for managing life's challenges. Physical posture during stillness influences mental control. Sitting upright with grounded feet, relaxed shoulders, and aligned spine signals the body to stabilize and supports focused attention. Small physical adjustments can anchor awareness, enhance breathing, and reinforce the experience of calm. The interplay between body and mind amplifies the impact of stillness, creating a state where mental clarity and physiological stability reinforce each other. The body, through posture and presence, becomes an active participant in the cultivation of composure. Stillness fosters emotional intelligence by providing space to process feelings rather than be consumed by them. In quiet reflection, the origin of emotions becomes apparent, patterns are recognized, and intensity diminishes naturally. The mind learns to differentiate between transient feelings and core values, enabling rational, aligned responses. Emotional regulation, once a conscious effort during stillness, gradually becomes intuitive, equipping the individual to navigate interactions and decisions with calm assurance. The ability to observe without immediate reaction cultivates patience, empathy, and insight. Challenging circumstances reveal the true value of stillness. When confronted with conflict, unexpected setbacks, or high-pressure environments, the habit of pausing allows for thoughtful strategy rather than impulsive reaction. Small moments of stillness can diffuse tension, illuminate solutions, and clarify priorities. The mind, trained to pause, observe, and reflect, approaches obstacles with composure instead of panic. This practice builds confidence because the individual experiences firsthand the power of internal equilibrium over external chaos. Journaling or silent reflection after periods of stillness deepens the practice. Recording insights, observations, and emotions strengthens awareness and reinforces lessons learned. Reviewing these notes over time provides a tangible record of growth, highlighting patterns, resilience, and increasing clarity in thought processes. Written reflection converts ephemeral experiences into enduring mental tools, further embedding control and strategic thinking into daily life. Stillness also strengthens intuition. In quiet moments, the mind can perceive connections, evaluate options, and recognize solutions that are obscured by constant activity. Pausing allows subtle insights to surface, enhancing decision-making, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. This intuitive clarity complements logical reasoning, creating a balanced approach to challenges where emotion is neither ignored nor allowed to dominate. The integration of reflection, observation, and insight cultivates a comprehensive mental toolkit. Ultimately, practicing stillness is a reclaiming of personal authority. By creating intentional pauses, observing without judgment, and aligning attention with clarity and purpose, the individual regains control over the mind and emotions. Life's external chaos does not disappear, but the ability to navigate it with focus, stability, and composure strengthens. Stillness teaches that power is not always in action. Sometimes it is in the disciplined pause, the measured breath, and the quiet observation that precedes effective response. The mind, trained in stillness, becomes resilient, deliberate, and unshakable, capable of facing life's turbulence with mastery, calm, and strategic insight. Through consistent practice, stillness evolves from occasional retreat into an integral habit of mental fortification. It builds patience, clarity, and awareness, transforming reactive tendencies into conscious choice. Each session of quiet reflection reinforces internal equilibrium, strengthens emotional regulation, and hones the ability to act decisively. Life is full of unpredictability, but stillness provides a sanctuary, a mental foundation from which challenges can be met thoughtfully rather than impulsively. Mastery over the mind emerges not from relentless action alone, but from the deliberate cultivation of calm, measured presence in every moment. Number 8. Replace overwhelm with micro-goals. Overwhelm is a silent thief. It creeps in when tasks, responsibilities, and expectations accumulate faster than the mind can process, creating tension, fatigue, and indecision. When faced with a mountain of obligations, the natural reaction is often avoidance, procrastination, or frantic, unfocused effort that rarely produces meaningful results. The antidote to this state is the deliberate creation of micro-goals, small, manageable objectives that break down complexity into actionable steps. Micro-goals provide clarity, focus, and momentum, transforming a paralyzing mass of tasks into a series of achievable challenges that gradually build progress, confidence, and control. The essence of micro-goals is their specificity. Large, abstract objectives are difficult to grasp and even harder to act upon. Goals like get healthy, improve career, or finish a project are vast and undefined, triggering anxiety rather than motivation. Micro-goals translate these broad ambitions into concrete actions: walking 1,000 steps, writing 200 words, organizing a single file, or responding to 3 important emails. Each small action is visible, measurable, and attainable, providing immediate feedback and a sense of accomplishment. This approach converts intimidating intentions into practical steps that the mind can comprehend and execute. Micro-goals also combat the psychological weight of overwhelm. When faced with a large objective, the mind tends to exaggerate the difficulty, magnifying stress and reducing perceived ability. Breaking the task into tiny, achievable components shifts focus from daunting totals to manageable increments. The mind experiences a sense of control because each micro-goal is attainable and progress becomes visible. This approach diminishes anxiety, strengthens motivation, and reinforces the belief that challenges can be handled systematically rather than being insurmountable. Consistency in applying micro-goals is critical. The purpose is not merely to complete isolated actions, but to create a rhythm of progress that compounds over time. Completing small, deliberate steps each day establishes a momentum that carries through larger objectives. This accumulation of incremental victories creates evidence of capability, gradually reinforcing confidence and reducing mental resistance. Each micro-goal achieved serves as proof that effort yields tangible results, strengthening the internal sense of competence and resilience. Prioritization enhances the impact of micro-goals. Not all tasks carry equal weight, and deciding which steps to tackle first ensures that energy is invested effectively. Evaluate tasks by importance and urgency, and design micro-goals that focus on high-impact actions. Completing these prioritized steps first generates meaningful progress and reinforces a sense of purpose. The mind experiences tangible forward movement, reducing the perception of chaos and the tendency to react emotionally to the volume of obligations. Micro-goals aligned with priority tasks create a structured, purposeful path through complexity. Visualization of the process supports effectiveness. Imagine the larger objective as a path and micro-goals as stepping stones along the way. Each completed stone represents measurable advancement, guiding attention from step to step rather than fixating on the entire journey. This mental framing transforms overwhelming tasks into a sequence of achievable actions, making progress feel natural and attainable. Visualization reinforces the connection between effort and result, strengthening motivation and enhancing strategic planning. Micro-goals foster accountability, recording each completed step, checking tasks off a list, or reviewing progress daily ensures that effort is visible and measurable. Accountability transforms intention into action and provides a feedback loop that reinforces momentum. The tangible evidence of progress alleviates stress, highlights achievement and creates a mental record of capability. The sense of accomplishment generated by completed micro-goals builds self-trust, reinforces persistence, and strengthens the habit of deliberate, focused effort. Flexibility within micro-goals enhances sustainability. Life is unpredictable, and rigid adherence to a plan may cause frustration when circumstances shift. Designing micro-goals that can adjust to time, energy, and context ensures continuous progress without becoming a source of stress. Flexibility allows the individual to maintain forward movement, even in adverse conditions, reinforcing resilience and adaptability. By focusing on achievable actions rather than fixed outcomes, micro-goals create a practical framework for continuous advancement under varying circumstances. Micro-goals improve focus by narrowing attention. When tasks feel overwhelming, the mind tends to scatter energy across multiple fronts, producing partial effort and low effectiveness. By concentrating on one small goal at a time, the mind directs resources efficiently, completing the step with quality and precision. This single-minded attention enhances productivity and reduces cognitive strain. Each successfully executed micro-goal reinforces the skill of concentrated effort, which then translates into improved performance in larger, more complex objectives. Reflection after completing micro-goals reinforces learning and motivation. Take note of what was accomplished, obstacles encountered, and strategies that worked well. This reflection consolidates experience, allowing the mind to internalize lessons and apply them to future tasks. It also strengthens the habit of evaluating progress systematically, preventing overwhelm from accumulating unnoticed. By connecting small actions to overall objectives through reflection, micro-goals serve as both a productivity tool and a mechanism for continuous personal growth. Emotional benefits are significant. Each micro-goal achieved triggers small positive feedback in the brain, enhancing dopamine response and producing a sense of satisfaction. This emotional reinforcement strengthens motivation, reduces feelings of helplessness, and combats mental fatigue. Over time, the mind associates effort with reward, making it easier to initiate action even when initial energy or enthusiasm is low. Emotional momentum complements practical progress, creating a feedback loop that sustains effort and resilience. Micro-goals also strengthen self-discipline. When tasks are broken into manageable pieces, the decision to act becomes easier, reducing procrastination and mental resistance. The habit of initiating small steps, even in moments of low motivation, trains the brain to follow through consistently. Each completed micro-goal reinforces reliability and persistence, gradually building an identity as someone capable of sustained effort and focused execution. Discipline emerges from repetition, compounding micro-actions into meaningful skill and strength. Micro-goals enable incremental mastery. Complex skills, projects or challenges often appear unattainable due to their scale. Breaking them into small, repeatable actions allows the mind to practice, adapt, and refine capabilities gradually. Each step contributes to overall competence, building confidence in the process. Progress becomes visible, not as distant milestones, but as a series of manageable achievements, reinforcing the belief that mastery is possible through patient, systematic effort. Collaboration benefits from micro goals as well. In team environments, assigning or recognizing small responsibilities clarifies contributions and reduces confusion. Each member can focus on attainable tasks, creating measurable progress without becoming paralyzed by the scope of the collective objective. This approach fosters efficiency, accountability, and a sense of shared accomplishment. Micro goals thus serve both individual and group dynamics, enhancing focus, clarity, and morale. Ultimately, replacing overwhelm with micro goals transforms perception of challenges. The mind learns to approach large, complex tasks, not with panic or avoidance, but with methodical step-by-step action. Each small achievement reduces stress, builds momentum, and strengthens confidence. Over time, the accumulation of micro wins produces significant progress, reinforcing the habit of intentional effort. Overwhelm diminishes because tasks are reframed as manageable steps, each offering a sense of control and accomplishment. By consistently applying micro goals, the individual develops a structured approach to life's complexities. Energy is directed efficiently, decisions are clear, and mental strain is minimized. Momentum compounds as each small victory reinforces competence, focus, and resilience. Gradually, the mind internalizes the pattern of incremental success, transforming not only outcomes, but identity. The ability to convert overwhelm into actionable steps cultivates patience, persistence, and strategic thinking. Life remains challenging, but through micro goals, progress becomes inevitable, achievable, and psychologically sustainable, allowing the individual to navigate complexity with confidence, clarity, and calm determination. Number 9. Train discipline over fluctuating motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes in waves, often influenced by external circumstances, emotions, or fleeting inspiration. Some days, energy and enthusiasm surge, making tasks feel effortless, while other days, even the simplest actions feel monumental. Relying solely on motivation to drive progress is a fragile strategy. It leaves achievement at the mercy of mood, environment, or transient excitement. Discipline, however, is steadfast. Discipline is the ability to act consistently, even when desire wanes, when energy dips, or when circumstances are uncooperative. Cultivating discipline allows the mind to maintain forward momentum independent of fleeting motivation, ensuring that goals are pursued steadily and progress is sustained. Discipline begins with structure. A framework of routines and habits forms the backbone of consistent effort. By embedding actions into daily rituals, behavior becomes automatic, reducing dependence on emotional drive. For example, waking at a set time, exercising daily, or dedicating fixed hours to focused work creates patterns that the mind and body anticipate. These patterns generate forward movement, regardless of internal states, transforming discipline from a forced choice into a natural rhythm. Habits, once established, reduce mental friction, allowing the individual to act reliably even when motivation is absent. Small, deliberate actions reinforce discipline. It is not necessary to undertake monumental efforts to build consistency. The key is regular, intentional practice. Completing even minor tasks systematically strengthens self-control, signaling to the brain that commitment outweighs desire. Each repeated action reinforces the capacity to act despite hesitation, procrastination, or fatigue. Over time, the accumulation of small disciplined steps produces compound results, shaping character and fostering confidence in the ability to persist under any condition. Discipline grows in increments, like a muscle strengthened through repeated, controlled exercise. Accountability amplifies disciplined behavior. Sharing goals with trusted companions, mentors, or support systems creates external reinforcement for consistency. Knowing that others are aware of commitments encourages follow-through and reduces the likelihood of succumbing to fluctuating motivation. Accountability acts as both mirror and motivator, reflecting progress and prompting action when internal drive falters. Combined with internal habit structures, accountability ensures that momentum continues even when intrinsic desire is low. Focus on process rather than outcome strengthens discipline. Motivation is often tied to visible results or immediate rewards, creating vulnerability when progress appears slow or delayed. Discipline, however, emphasizes consistent effort and adherence to principles, regardless of immediate feedback, concentrating on the actions themselves, completing steps, following routines, refining skills, builds resilience and competence. The individual learns that reliability in effort produces outcomes over time, and that persistence is more valuable than fluctuating bursts of enthusiasm. Process-oriented thinking shields the mind from frustration, impatience, and discouragement. Planning plays a central role in sustaining discipline. When tasks are mapped out clearly, with designated times, methods, and priorities, the mind reduces cognitive load and decision fatigue. Pre-planned structures reduce reliance on spontaneous motivation, providing a clear roadmap to follow even in low-energy states. Detailed preparation, including contingency plans and adaptive strategies, ensures consistent execution, reinforcing the principle that action is non-negotiable and not subject to temporary desire. The mind becomes conditioned to act methodically rather than reactively. Mindset is critical in prioritizing discipline over motivation. Viewing challenges as non-optional responsibilities rather than tasks to be undertaken only when inspired cultivates resilience. The individual develops an internal framework where effort is expected, commitment is respected, and completion is non-negotiable. This mental stance separates action from emotional state, empowering the mind to operate reliably under pressure, fatigue, or distraction. Discipline becomes identity, internalized as the standard by which behavior is measured, rather than a temporary choice dependent on fluctuating feelings. Reward and reinforcement complement disciplined practice. While discipline does not rely on motivation, acknowledging progress and providing feedback strengthens the habit loop. Small rewards, personal recognition, or reflection on achievements bolster the mind's engagement with consistent effort. Reinforcement enhances satisfaction derived from persistence, reduces reliance on external excitement, and deepens the internalization of disciplined behavior. Over time, consistent action becomes its own reward, reinforcing the habit cycle and diminishing the need for motivational spikes to initiate effort. Resisting temptation is a central aspect of cultivating discipline. Motivation often waxes and wanes in the face of distractions or competing desires. Discipline allows the mind to maintain focus on priorities despite these pressures, training the capacity to defer gratification, avoid shortcuts, and adhere to structured action strengthens mental resilience. Each instance of choice aligned with long-term objectives reinforces identity as someone capable of self-regulation and reliability, gradually shifting behavior from reactive indulgence to deliberate commitment. Flexibility within discipline is also important. Discipline does not mean rigidity. It involves adjusting methods while maintaining adherence to principles. When obstacles arise or circumstances change, the ability to modify approach without abandoning effort ensures continuity. Discipline balances consistency with adaptability, allowing progress to continue even when plans require revision. This dynamic approach sustains momentum, reinforces control over action, and strengthens the mind's capacity to maintain commitment under diverse conditions. Visualization enhances the cultivation of discipline. Mentally rehearsing challenging scenarios where motivation might be low but action is necessary strengthens neural pathways associated with persistence. Imagining successful adherence to routines or consistent effort under difficulty prepares the mind to act reliably in reality. Visualization creates familiarity with effort in low inspiration conditions, reducing resistance when faced with actual challenges. By practicing mentally, the individual trains the brain to favor consistent action over temporary desire, reinforcing resilience and control. Reflection strengthens the discipline framework. Reviewing completed tasks, evaluating adherence to routines, and noting responses to challenges provides insight into patterns of behavior. Reflection highlights areas of strength, identifies moments of weakness, and informs adjustments to maintain consistency. This deliberate analysis reinforces learning, strengthens self-awareness, and consolidates habits, ensuring that discipline evolves rather than stagnates. Over time, reflection reinforces the principle that effort is not contingent upon mood, but is a non-negotiable element of progress and personal growth. Micro-habits support the long-term development of discipline. Small, easily achievable actions, performed consistently, train the mind to persist regardless of motivation. The cumulative effect of micro-habits builds confidence, reduces resistance to effort, and strengthens self-control. Over time, these minor, repeated actions coalesce into substantial achievements, demonstrating that disciplined consistency surpasses reliance on fluctuating enthusiasm. Micro-habits transform ordinary days into a structured pattern of growth and reinforce the capacity to act deliberately, even under fatigue or distraction. Ultimately, training discipline over fluctuating motivation creates freedom from emotional dependency. The individual is no longer a slave to fleeting desire or circumstance. Instead, actions are guided by principles, commitment, and structure. Progress becomes predictable, results accumulate steadily, and confidence grows in the ability to navigate complexity, stress, and adversity. Discipline provides the reliability and stability that motivation alone cannot, transforming effort into a habit, persistence into identity, and consistency into lasting achievement. Through repeated practice, self-regulation, and adherence to structured routines, the mind internalizes the principle that success is not a function of enthusiasm, but of deliberate, sustained effort. Motivation may wax and wane, but discipline endures, ensuring that goals are pursued, challenges are met, and growth continues. The individual learns that action is independent of feeling, that persistence outweighs inspiration, and that consistent behavior, rooted in principle rather than emotion, is the true measure of mental strength. Over time, discipline becomes automatic, resilience becomes ingrained, and the capacity to achieve remains steadfast, regardless of the shifting tides of motivation. Number 10. Lean on routines when weak. Strength is not always constant. There are days when energy dips, motivation falters, and mental clarity feels distant. On these days, relying solely on willpower is futile. The mind and body crave structure to navigate the inertia. Routines provide this framework. They are the scaffolding that supports action when internal resources are depleted. By leaning on established habits and rituals, the individual maintains forward movement even when weakness arises, preventing stagnation, minimizing stress, and reinforcing the sense of control. Routines transform fragile moments into opportunities for consistency and growth, ensuring that progress does not hinge solely on fluctuating strength. Routines function as anchors. When emotions, stress, or fatigue threaten to derail focus, familiar patterns provide a sense of stability. Simple acts, waking at the same hour, engaging in a morning ritual, or following a set sequence of tasks, create predictability in an otherwise unpredictable mental landscape. This predictability reduces cognitive load, allowing the mind to conserve energy while still performing meaningful actions. By providing a consistent rhythm, routines shield the individual from chaos, enabling action even when clarity is diminished and willpower is scarce. The reliability of routines comes from repetition. The more often a sequence of actions is performed, the less mental effort it requires. Habits become automated responses rather than decisions dependent on fluctuating strength. Brushing teeth, preparing a healthy meal, or completing a short exercise session are examples of micro-routines that, when repeated consistently, free the mind from constant deliberation. This automation ensures that even in moments of weakness, the individual continues to act in alignment with values and goals, reinforcing self-trust and consistency. Routines provide a framework for prioritization. On days when overwhelm or exhaustion is present, it is easy to become reactive, jumping from task to task without direction. Established routines structure time and attention, ensuring that essential actions are completed first. This structured approach reduces the likelihood of neglecting priorities, prevents decision fatigue, and protects the individual from the negative consequences of inaction. Routines create a predictable sequence that guides behavior, allowing the mind to operate efficiently even when cognitive resources are limited. Preparation strengthens the ability to rely on routines. By designing daily, weekly, or even monthly structures, the individual creates a roadmap to follow during low-energy periods. Preparing tasks, tools, and environments in advance reduces friction and minimizes the effort needed to act. For example, pre-planning meals, laying out workout clothes, or scheduling focused work blocks ensures that important actions can be executed with minimal decision-making. This foresight transforms routine from optional habit into a reliable safety net during moments of weakness, ensuring continuity of effort. Consistency in routines fosters mental resilience. Each completed habitual action, even when performed in low-energy states, reinforces competence and reliability. These repeated demonstrations of capability accumulate over time, shaping the internal narrative of strength and perseverance. The mind internalizes the pattern of follow-through, learning that action is possible even when circumstances feel difficult. Over time, this reinforces confidence, reduces the fear of fatigue or stress, and creates a psychological buffer against moments of doubt or vulnerability. Routines also conserve energy for decision-making. By automating repetitive or essential tasks, the individual preserves cognitive resources for novel or complex challenges. When weakness strikes, routine provides a stable platform from which higher-order thinking can occur without being overwhelmed by trivial decisions. This balance between automated action and deliberate thought enhances efficiency, reduces stress, and maximizes effectiveness even under constrained mental or physical energy. Emotional regulation benefits from the predictability of routines. Stress, anxiety, and mood fluctuations often intensify when the mind is unstructured. By adhering to established rituals, the individual signals stability to the nervous system, reducing cortisol spikes and promoting emotional equilibrium. Morning or evening routines, exercise, journaling, or mindfulness practices act as anchors, creating a sense of control, predictability, and calm. This emotional steadiness reinforces the ability to function effectively, even when external circumstances or internal states are challenging. Routines reinforce accountability to oneself. When habits are followed consistently, even during moments of weakness, the individual develops a sense of integrity and reliability. Each completed action, regardless of enthusiasm or energy level, strengthens self-trust. Over time, this cumulative record of adherence to personal commitments shapes identity, embedding the understanding that one is capable of acting responsibly and effectively, even under adversity. Routines transform perseverance from abstract intention into tangible, repeatable behavior. Flexibility within routines enhances their effectiveness. Rigid adherence can cause stress or frustration if circumstances prevent full execution. Adjusting the scope or intensity of habitual actions allows continuity without abandoning progress. For example, a shortened workout, simplified task list, or reduced writing target still maintains the routine structure while accommodating low-energy states. This adaptability ensures that routines remain supportive rather than punitive, reinforcing the principle that consistency matters more than perfection. Micro-routines are particularly valuable when overall strength is low. Small, manageable tasks performed repeatedly create momentum that can extend into larger actions. These bite-sized practices, such as making a bed, reviewing a to-do list, or taking a short walk, provide psychological wins that combat inertia. Each minor success activates a sense of achievement, fueling further engagement and gradually restoring energy and focus. The cumulative effect of micro-routines sustains progress, demonstrating that even minimal action contributes meaningfully to long-term objectives. Routines also serve as a bridge during recovery from setbacks. When fatigue, illness, or emotional strain reduces capability, structured habits provide continuity and a path forward. They prevent complete stagnation, ensuring that the mind and body remain engaged in constructive activity. Even slow, deliberate adherence to routines signals momentum, reinforces self-efficacy, and creates conditions for regaining full strength. In this sense, routines act as a stabilizing force, preserving progress and preventing regression during vulnerable periods. Reflection enhances the impact of routines. Reviewing habitual actions, noting completion, and recognizing consistency reinforces their value. Reflection transforms routine from mechanical action into conscious reinforcement of goals and identity. Each observation of sustained effort, particularly during weakness, strengthens confidence, internalizes resilience, and validates the power of structured behavior. The mind begins to associate adherence to routine with stability, capability, and forward movement, deepening the psychological benefit of repeated practice. Routines cultivate independence from fluctuating energy or mood. By relying on established habits, the individual no longer depends on willpower, enthusiasm, or immediate desire to act. Routine becomes a constant, a reliable guide that ensures progress regardless of external or internal conditions. This independence reduces stress, prevents procrastination, and reinforces the understanding that action is possible under any circumstance. Mental strength emerges as behavior becomes predictable, deliberate, and aligned with purpose rather than reactive to transient states. Ultimately, leaning on routines when weak creates resilience and sustainability. Routines are the scaffolding that supports action during fatigue, emotional strain, or low motivation. They provide structure, conserve energy, reinforce identity, and maintain momentum. Over time, the consistent practice of routine transforms fragile days into opportunities for progress, ensuring that personal growth continues even when internal resources are depleted. Strength becomes reliable, not dependent on fluctuating conditions, and the mind learns that consistency, guided by structure, is the true driver of achievement. By embedding intentional routines into daily life, the individual develops a system that functions even when willpower fails. Each habitual action reinforces momentum, preserves focus, and builds competence. The predictable framework of routines ensures that progress is uninterrupted, decisions are streamlined, and resilience is strengthened. Leaning on routines turns weakness into manageable conditions rather than obstacles, demonstrating that discipline and structure can carry the individual forward when motivation, energy, or mental clarity are insufficient. Life's challenges persist, but routines create a foundation from which forward movement is inevitable, steady, and reliable.